Welcome to the Automotive Diagnostic Podcast. We're going to explore ways to sharpen our diagnostic skills, find learning resources, and hear from experts in the automotive field. This show is brought to you by Auto Rescue Tools and Isaac Rodell. If you've been looking for a programming laptop, but you're not sure which one to buy or how to set it up, especially if you want to program multiple brands. You know, you've got some domestic vehicles, you've got European vehicles. Can the same software go on the same laptop? What size hard drive do I need? All those questions. Isaac's your guy. He can custom set up programming laptops that are ready to tackle any make or model. I got one of these laptops myself, and I can say that it is outstanding, and it really streamlines the process by having everything you need in one device. So if you're looking for something like that, I highly recommend checking out autorescuetools.com. You'll also find scan tools, diagnostic equipment, key cutting equipment, and much more. Check out the link in the show notes. I highly recommend it. Hey, what's going on, automotive world? Welcome to another episode of the Automotive Diagnostic Podcast. My name is Sean Tippett, and I'll be your host once again for this week's episode. Joining me today on the podcast for episode 300 of the show is Tomi, Oliva, and Matt Fanslow. It is pretty crazy to think that we have done 300 episodes of the podcast spanning over roughly the last 5 years or so. Started this in January of 2020, right before COVID. And these two gentlemen, obviously Tommy's been my co-host here in 2025, but even outside of that, these two guys have been a couple of the biggest contributors to the show as far as guests and just support in general. I really appreciate both of them, and so there was really no question as far as who I wanted to have on for a little bit of a milestone episode. So they're going to join us. We'll talk about some of the things that we've learned over the last 5 years and a number of other topics, as we usually manage to find with the three of us. So with that out of the way, let's jump right in.
All right. Damn, you guys are ugly. Welcome to 300.
The lack of sun up here.
Common sense. Fuck you doing living up there?
It is absolutely gorgeous here this time of year. Thank you very much.
Yeah, for like 2 weeks.
And we avoid most natural disasters and animals that can kill you.
That whole fucking, yeah, because they're smart enough not to live there.
Right. You got to fill in the gaps.
Yep.
Yeah, nothing poisonous or really that dangerous.
You know what's funny is I always say that like when people say, why you still live there if you don't fuck, because I love my city. Like when I'm driving to the gym, I take the 90/94 and like on a perfect morning you can see the entire skyline from that little 2-mile stretch coming off from the junction of the 90 when the 90/94 meet in the city. You can see Chicago, and it's just like, damn, it's beautiful. Everything else sucks. The weather sucks. People are nice. Taxes are disgusting, but it's like it's home, you know? Like you go anywhere else and it's just like, it's not home. So I get it. But I am tired of it. But I will say this, we'll never run out of water though. Not in my lifetime. A big ass lake.
We have a couple lakes.
Yeah, only what, 10,000?
Yeah, something like that. Wisconsin has more. They don't brag about it. They got better stuff to brag about.
We never hear about that.
Wisconsin people are just like, you know, I went out to Mike. I'm gonna fuck up his name. Sorry, Mike Black Canary.
He can't pronounce his last name.
Yeah, no shit, right? Dude, that guy's like the weirdest like redneck I ever met, right? Because I went to his town. It's called Boscobel, Wisconsin. Me and Corey, we drove. I drove up to Madison, met up with Corey. We drove up to his shop for the day. he took my fat ass fishing, which is like, I mean, the closest I ever got to like being on a boat was when my fucking dumbass uncle decided to take our old car and drive through a flooded viaduct. I don't know what the hell he was thinking, man. It's like an 8-foot viaduct, man. Like,
Makes like that dude in Fast and the Furious. Hector.
yeah, man.
What's your
Hector,
name?
see,
Hector. Yeah.
it was Hector.
What's your last name? I don't know. I can't pronounce it.
Yeah, I was seeing a reel right now that we were waiting for you to hurry up, and I was like, dude, what's the name of the brown guy in Fast and the Furious? Because he's 55 years old now. I couldn't remember his name. He's like, dude, he's the one that had the T25 turbos or whatever the fuck they were talking about.
Not Vin Diesel.
No, not the Diesel. Everybody knows his name.
Ah, man.
Man, it was fucking nuts, man. That's a wild ass coincidence. Good job, Matt.
You're welcome. My
If
job's
you need
done.
somebody for movie references,
Yeah,
that is your guy.
Yeah.
fucking useless information.
That's about. Yeah, that's me to the T.
Mm.
You can't think of something ridiculous? Just call me up. I'll probably know it. Something worthwhile? Forget it. Call Pedro.
Yeah, you ain't lying.
Right?
You want to laugh? You call me. No. Sounds about right. Matter of fact, I was running late because I was helping Pedro with something, and I'm just like, and then I saw your message. I was like, oh crap, I'm gonna be late. And then the white guy was late today. That's great. Way to break the stereotypes.
Well, yeah.
It was me, if anyone's wondering. I was late.
Oh, I
For the
forgot.
lack of trying. I was technically on time.
Yeah. He
Technical
was.
difficulties.
So what's up, gentlemen?
Yeah, we're episode 300 of the podcast, which is pretty crazy to think about. When I saw that coming up the last few weeks, I'm like, oh wow, it's been about 5 years. I started at January 2020.
No shit. Right in time
yeah.
for COVID too, huh?
Yeah, I was just a couple months in before all that dropped, and
It just even seems longer, but
yeah. Well, I mean,
you were at Thornton's classes, and I thought you had already started there at DCTC, Dakota County Technical College.
Yeah, it would have been like January, February, and it's very possible I was at one of them at that point and had just started it.
Yeah.
You were on like episode 9 or maybe even sooner than that.
We had such a lack of options, so I think you had like your neighbor on, and
No, I was pumped because I was like, oh, somebody that actually knows stuff in the industry wants to be on the show. Cool, awesome. And I like sweated.
That was who?
Like, what am I going to talk to him about it?
what are you talking about?
And then I think I edited the crap out of your audio because I at the beginning I was like, oh, I have to cut out all pauses. Like no pauses can be present, no ums can be present. And I was like,
Fonzo's like a machine gun, man.
Yeah. Well, I think you commented on it too. You were like, my voice sounds really, or like my cadence sounds really weird. I'm like, yeah, I fucked with that. So,
But yeah, I think Brian Collado was giving me shit. Like, it's just like their cadence is really weird.
It's another fucking
So
guy.
I'm listening to it like, do I really talk that way? Holy shit.
Oh shit, man.
but I eventually realized it's a lot less work and it sounds better if you just leave all that stuff in. So we just leave the super racist jokes that Tomi makes out. That's it.
They're just against white people. It's all right. We can.
No. I discriminate everyone, man. I discriminate everyone. We're gonna have a blooper reel and then we're gonna get banned from fucking everything. Fucking poor fucking Sean's gonna be. I should never let this fucking brown guy in here.
Fanslow was right.
Mm-hmm. That's another thing.
Oh man.
At least one Minnesotan lets me on this podcast.
When you made the brown guy comment to Thornton, I saw his face flush.
Oh man, I do such a good job of making him uncomfortable. And then one time we were at after we went to the range one time with Eric Moss's and one of his technicians and John, and we had to have lunch afterwards, and I'm like, yeah, I'm really not a professional here, man. And he's like, yeah, I know. And then he says, no, I'm just kidding. I'm like, no, you're not. You don't joke, man. You weren't kidding. And that's fine. I'll take it. The truth hurts. And
So John just walks out there with like pistols, really nice pistols, and it'd be hilarious if you get there. You've never seen him shoot before.
yo,
You're all going, and then he walks over with like a 50 cal.
dude, he's
It's just hilarious.
he's a very disciplined person, man. Like
Yes.
he's very methodical, even in shooting. Like he the way he everything, like
Yep.
from after he fires a weapon and the magazine goes empty, he pulls the weapon down with two hands, looks, make sure there's nothing in the barrel, even after the gun is already
Oh, yeah, we talked a lot about that, and I just told him watch John Wick 1, 2, 3 over and over and over. That's where he got it all.
Yeah, it's
Do you ever see when the clip? He just kind of flips that out.
Yep.
You learned that from Keanu.
I guess so. Yeah, so it was a really fun day. I was nervous as shit. I hit the instead of hitting the target, I hit the damn the machine that carries the the range guy. The range guy was like, "Hey man, you okay?" I'm like, "Why?" He's like, "You didn't see that spark?" I'm like, "Sorry, my first time here, sir." I took my AR with me. I'm like, yeah, I'm not bringing this thing out. He's gonna kick me out. I was like, oops. There's only a few people that make me nervous. It's him and my old man when he was alive. Everybody else, I can really give a shit about. And to make it worse, man, I had so many technical difficulties because I had a last minute training event come up, and I didn't want to reschedule, so I had to get up early, get to the hotel, set up, and I forget my microphone. I had to go to Walmart to buy one. I get back, and then my hotspot decides to conk out, and yeah, then the hotel hotspot was trash, and then by the time everything was over, so obviously, well, I don't know because I've never been on your podcast, but do you use Riverside? What, man? So you use Riverside. No. You have to upload everybody's like video gets uploaded, right, Matt, Sean?
Yeah.
So then my video wouldn't upload, dude, and Sean's like, I think it'll be okay. I'm like, dude, I ain't chancing this shit, bro. I literally had to drive with my hand out the sunroof until I finally found a good internet so we can upload this
awesome
video.
I just sent you a picture of it, Matt. So if you check that out,
I can imagine.
You got Tommy holding his arm out the sunroof to get better reception.
I was like, damn it, man! The things you do for this raggedy ass podcast, I don't even get paid for.
He stops. I mean, he's up in Minnesota anyways, right? But he swings down to visit, and it was great. It was blast and everything. A few hours later, he calls me up. He's like, "Hey, man, you know anybody open today?" Like, what do you mean? It's like, I need the water pump put on my vehicle, and may need a little bit of help. So, I'm texting a few people like, "Hey, man, you want to help my buddy Tommy out here?" And Tommy calls back. He's like, "Don't worry about it. I did it in the parking lot." Bro, like a vice grip, and
I pulled out my inner Mexican that day, bro. Like, yo. Because, and it's funny how everything panned out, because if we would have taken the interstate down, I would have gotten royally screwed. My damn water pump took a shit, and it's totally my fault because I heard a noise like 3 days before I left, and and then it went away. I was like, all right, it's fixed. It fixed itself. So I get to Minnesota.
They get real quiet when they stop spitting.
So for all who don't know, my wife has a best friend who lives in Minnesota. So like she likes going up there, and then I'll go visit these two dirtbags and we go hang out or whatever. But I always wanted to see Fanslow shop, so I decided to divert. And it was Sunday before Labor Day because I went to Mall of America on Labor Day weekend one time, and it took me 8 hours, almost 9 hours to get home because of the Dells traffic and just the Minnesota traffic. I'm like, no. I told the wife we'll leave a day early, and then we'll come back Sunday and avoid all that. So we took the scenic route to Red Wing, and then after that, Matt told me which way to go, and man, beautiful. The Mississippi over there
was definitely down.
It was it was worth it. And then we get to this roundabout in this little rinky-dink town. I don't even know where I was at, and all of a sudden I just heard that noise, but it came back with a vengeance, and I'm like, oh crap. So
was
there
it
was
Winona? It seems like it was
yes, it was
Winona.
Yeah, I don't know why, but I remember the name.
Yeah, that's way down there.
Yeah, so
It's where they
I pulled
filmed
into this little
Grumpy
what?
Old Men.
They filmed what?
Grumpy Old Men.
Oh, really?
Winona Ryder
There's a
was
scene
named
from that
after
movie.
Winona.
Oh,
There's
didn't
a
know that.
scene from that movie like 5 miles from my house. The church that they used at the end is like I can drive.
dude, I
there.
haven't seen that movie in years, and I'm gonna watch it this
It
weekend.
holds up, man. It
Yeah, it was
actually
great.
holds up.
It was a great flick, man. So I get out the roundabout and I get to the gas station and I pull over to see it. And as soon as I pull over, the magic smoke. And I smell the coolant. I was like, God damn it. I pop the hood and then I see the water pump just puking. I'm just like, Jesus Christ. So the wife's she was not freaking out. She's like, what do we do? What do we do? I'm like, bro, it's Sunday before Labor Day. We're fucked. Let me call. let me ask Matt Fanslow. If not, worst comes to worst, I know somebody in Chicago will run me up some tools or whatever. Like if I can't, if not, we just stay here the night and then we figure it out. Or I'll tow it back to Fanslow shop. Maybe he'll let me fucking work on it. Whatever. Like I'll figure it out. I mean, it is what it is. Like I can't do anything about it. And for some reason, it occurred to me that there might be an auto part nearby, and I'm like, in Chicago, some of them will rent you tools. So I'm like, maybe I can do the same. I don't know. I got to do something. So I Googled auto part near me. O'Reilly's popped up first. It was literally behind the gas station. So I was like, screw it, man. So I drove it. I found a little secluded spot in the back of it that had like the concrete curb and shit.
Mm-hmm.
So I pulled up to it and I left it there. I walked in and I gave him my account number and I said, hey, do you have this part? Yeah, we have it. Do you have this coolant? Yeah, we have it. It's gonna sound messed up. I said, but is there any way you can loan me some tools? I'm from Chicago. I broke down. I'm giving her this whole story, and she's looking at me. She's pointing over there, and there's like this big old cart full of tools that they let people borrow. Now I'm like, last favor, this thing doesn't have any more coolant in it. Can I just change it here in the parking lot? She's like, well, at least you asked. I've seen guys change fuel pumps in the parking lot. She's like, we don't really care. I was like, It sucks because it was 95 degrees that day. But yeah, I managed to. They had pretty much everything I needed, and I was back on the road in like an hour. The GM water pump, man. I mean, it was like 8 bolts and plus the pulley and whatever. Like, yeah, it was not difficult. Electric fan too, so no fan clutch to worry about. So yeah, it was hit the road, and then I get back. I get to like somewhere in Wisconsin, and I go up to a gas station, and I just pop the hood, just check the water level or the coolant level or whatever. And some guy's like, "Oh, I think you're leaking coolant." And I'm like, "I was, sir."
Keyword was.
Yeah, I was, sir. And if I am, I better make it home.
We had to do something like that. It was a couple years ago. I hosted Mike Christopherson's class up here. Or you came to that one, Fanslow. And he was coming up here and like set the whole thing up. People are flying in from Canada and stuff. Got hotels and everything. It's the night before, and he's like 2 hours south of the city. So he calls me. He's like, my Sprinter just broke down. The belt came off, and it's like 9 o'clock. And I'm like, okay, what are we going to do? Because the class starts like in the morning the next day. And so I drove down there with my dog, and we were taking a look at it. Like, I bought a bunch of tools. He didn't know what was wrong with it. And one of the bolts it had 2 alternators on it, like the upper and a lower one. And one of the bolts for the lower alternator is just gone. It's on the 35 somewhere. and the belt came off. So we took one of the bolts from the upper alternator because it's got three. It's like one of those that bolts in from the top. So we took one of those out and we put it in the bottom one. So they each had two of them. Put the belt back on. He made it up to where he needed to be for class. But I remember that, like, I'm like ready to go to bed. Like, okay, hey, we got this class next day. It's gonna go all smooth. And he's like,
Hold that.
yeah. Yeah, I've done my fair share of parking lot repairs too. I try to avoid that these days, but
Yeah, it was not fun, man. But I think an hour on a GM water pump in the parking lot with no electric or hydro or pneumatic tools was pretty impressive, if you ask me.
yeah.
And I said, you know, when I get back home, I'm gonna get rid of this cheap ass O'Reilly's water pump. It's been fucking 2 years. It's still in there. And it's not coming out until I fucking...
Hey, have you ever been faced with the challenge of sourcing, installing, and programming a used control module in a vehicle? I know a lot of us have. It seems to be happening more and more often today with the volume of control modules on vehicles, the cost of some new ones, or even the availability of new control modules. In some cases, used may be the only option. So what do you do here? I strongly recommend checking out SJ Auto Solutions and Tomi Oliva. Tomi offers a cloning service for used control modules to make these things plug and play for the vehicle that you're working on. In a lot of cases, he is also able to source the control modules if you're unable to locate one for the vehicle that you're working on. But once you get connected with Tomi, he's going to offer fantastic support from start to finish to make sure that that control module is going to work in your application. He's also got tech support that he offers through his website, along with some free resources there as well on information about used control module programming. So make sure to check out SJ Auto Solutions. I can't recommend that enough.
And it's not coming out until I fucking... until it takes a shit.
Well,
Yeah,
what else is new with you guys? I mean, I talk to you every week. Well, both of you every week. But
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not
no
much
shit.
to talk about.
I don't know. I haven't talked to Fanslow in a while, especially since he blackballed me. It's okay. Or
what
brown
happened
ball.
between you two?
Oh, man.
What's new up in Red Wing, man?
Not much. Staying busy. Today was instrument cluster day. I don't know why.
Same here.
Yeah, but you probably know what you're doing. I just poke around and...
I went to public school, homie, man. I'm just gonna find out. Damn it. I don't know. It's a Camry. The problem is I forgot what the complaint was, and I told the guy I was working on it, so I don't want to call him. Be like, hey, man, what'd you say was wrong with this again?
Yeah, GM instrument clusters. Looks like somebody's already been in there. Looks like whoever was in there, used those really cheap bulbs to replace the backlights instead of...
I hate those
must have
fucking
spent
things.
so much time trying to solder the, whatever you want to call them,
they're
the
so
leads
thin.
out of the
Yeah.
damn light.
Yeah, they're not even worth it.
And then the stepper motors were black, and they don't look at all like the conventional stepper motors.
I've never seen black ones.
Me neither. I know they're not factory.
I've never done a lot of those either, man. It's such a shit show now.
Yeah. And they didn't clean up their flux, so the flux was just brown as heck and looked like it was corroding everything that they had reflowed.
That's that $50
Well,
eBay special.
Yeah.
I'm glad the cluster I did made it all the way down to Red Wing. at least.
Yep, it made it right there. Thanks for giving us work, dirtbag.
Oh, man.
I have a Saab ECM problem that's been absolutely just killing me. But
What's the
I think
problem?
it's It's a used module, but we've gotten two of the wrong module, and I think that's where my issue is.
What are you trying to do with it? There's only one. Like, wait, which family is it?
The ME 9.6, the small one.
Is that the one that's mounted on the block or on the head?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's like on the back of the intake. It's a 2.8 V6. The module's like this big.
Is that like the Cadillac one, or is it
Yeah.
the typical? Oh, it's
Yeah,
one of those.
it's similar to the Cadillac one. Yeah.
Yeah, bro. If it's that family, man, that's a printed board, dude. That's
Yep. That's where I was having trouble doing any board work, and I have like the Saab setup with, I got Tech 2 and a card and all that stuff. And I was able to add the security, but correcting the calibrations, I've killed 2 modules so far. So
do you have the original
cross our
one still?
fingers on.
That's what I
do have the
warm up.
original. Yeah,
The see if you can find the Trionic flasher.
I have
think
it. It doesn't work.
It doesn't cover that one.
Nah.
Probably because it's Bosch. Is that why it bricked?
No, so I used the actual like Tech 2 and the Saab setup to try to flash it, and it gets to a certain point in the flashing and airs out and gives me a BO error, which from my experience, that's like wrong part when you get that. And it's the same thing each time with it, and then after that it's like kind of half no com. But they're different service numbers, the 2 parts that they've gotten for us so far, and I have a feeling that has something to do with it. So we're trying to find the right service number.
Yeah, because if anything, I think that generation can be cloned. What did you say it was?
It's a ME 9.6. So Flex lists it, but you have to. It's boot mode, and the connections are.
These are I got the pin off for this one, man. Flex doesn't cover this one. It's yeah, but if it has
just
it
not
now
easily.
Why you have no? Is it boot mode?
Yeah, well, you can do a maps, but that didn't work.
Yeah. No, that's not gonna. No, I remember now. You know what covers this one? PCM flash.
Ah, I don't have that one.
Yeah, it's it has a different designation, but PCM flash is what I've used for these.
Okay.
So just get it, man. Stop wasting your time.
I haven't found anything that I've absolutely needed it for now, but maybe this is it. So
yeah, I mean, it's just good to have it, dude. It's only a couple $100, and the license is a little pricey, but trust me, you're gonna use it.
Okay. Cool. Well, that solves my problem.
You're welcome. So now, it's been 5 years.
Yep.
What have you guys learned? Like, what do you guys think that you progressed in the last 5 years, and where do you see yourself in the next 5?
You go first, Matt.
I mean, I learned a lot. And I don't know. I don't have any intention of slowing down, regardless of how stuff at the shop plays out with ownership or not. I just don't see myself not continuing to be involved at some level of at least the diag side, or the, I don't know what, technology side, really, right? Just staying involved with technology, be it ADAS or immobilizer, module level stuff, whatever that means. If it's trying to repair the actual circuit board itself, or getting used crap to work, and whatever else comes down the pipe. I mean, I know there's a lot of hoopla about EVs, but I don't know, we've been working on hybrids for freaking 20 some years. So
it's all nuts and bolts, man.
Yeah. I don't know about like factual stuff, because before you had kind of said something about what profound, and it's really hard to think about. And I was thinking about, like, what would be funny answers, or at least funny to me, which is easy, grade school level stuff. But I think one of the big aha moments, or I was learning stuff that I was pissed off that I was learning now, this far into my career, having gone to college, trade school, however many hours of training a year, 80 plus hours of training a year. And then I learned from that freaking automotive HVAC group that a lot of the crap we were taught is wrong. In terms like superheat and subcooling, we were never taught that. And I understand to some degree it's hard to translate over consistently, but it's still something quite powerful, or just the understanding of it. And we're never taught that. It gets so dumbed down for us, and then they wonder why so many people struggle, and they still call evaporators condensers, and condensers evaporators. And we had a vehicle brought in that a shop was fixing a lack of cooling complaint on a Subaru. They diagnosed it as a bad evaporator. They diagnosed it with a thermal imager. So you would think somehow they gained access to the evaporator core to be able to look at it with the thermal imager, right?
Yeah, which is not exactly easy to do.
No. And I'm guessing impossible. And I'm also guessing that is exactly what they did not do. My guess is they shot the lines. They looked at the lines and saw that they were equal. Therefore determined that the evaporator was not cooling the refrigerant, or warming up technically, but the refrigerant wasn't flowing through it properly. So they put an evaporator in it. And I think a TX valve. Did not fix it. And it sounded like it took all day to put the evaporator in, so I'm sure it was expensive labor. Doesn't fix it. It gets sent to us. You could have diagnosed it with a freaking flashlight. I mean, you would know immediately the compressor wasn't running.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, oh, wow. It's a big leak. They put the evaporator in, accidentally didn't get it sealed right. Lost all the refrigerant. It sucks, but stuff happens. Humans are working on this crap.
Mm-hmm.
No, it's got plenty of refrigerant in it. Pressures at least were right. I didn't suck anything out of it, but pressures are good enough. They're like 85 PSI. That's enough to kick the compressor on. Compressor's not getting kicked on. Reach down, try to spin it. Can't spin it. And then, just quick, one of the very few fills probes in the country that, Paul Danner hasn't bought up. Verify power feed and ground to the compressor. It's got it. Just doesn't, I'm guessing it locked up. Probably made a hell of a noise for a while. Cooked the magnetic clutch, or at least the magnet part. It's like, wow. Just, I don't know. They go to a class, see the thermal imager, think it's got to get on this, and now we're misusing it. Like, so that, I don't know. That's learning that some of the stuff we're just learning about is really old and been around a long time. Sometimes is frustrating that we weren't taught that early on, be it, refrigeration or AC.
I still don't think there's a whole lot of that in the current tech schools or training for that.
Yeah, I would say zero.
I really haven't heard the stuff that you're talking about from anywhere except for you. And I know you're a member of that group or whatever. I still haven't checked that out. I need to. But yeah, I think it's still traditional as far as I know. I mean, I know what the ASE standards are still to this day, and it really hasn't changed at all.
No, and honestly, if we started putting more of that stuff in and getting that information out there, then the questions for the exam could probably improve. Not that they're just so terrible, but you're kind of locked in. You start writing questions on the handwritten or the CBT regular exams, the 5-year exams, if you will. You can't really push technology too hard. You can't go too far outside of the guardrails, or it's automatically biased against the test candidate. So it might find a better place in the renewal app where there's a lot more leash about what you can write about and how difficult you can make the questions, because you have a time limit to answer the question, but it's usually like minutes, a lot. And you're not locked into that screen. You can be doing the quote unquote exam on your phone, sitting at a computer and going to service information, going to quote unquote Googling stuff, reading articles about it. Not saying like Google, what's the answer? Like, hey, ChatGPT, what's the answer to this question? It's more, if I write a question about subcooling, you could go read something about subcooling and maybe go back and answer the question. And even if you got it wrong, you'd learn about subcooling. And then when you get that follow-up question, you knock it out of the ballpark. And it's not so much you are now a certified tech, it's you are getting better. You're learning, you're continuously educating yourself.
Have you guys taken the certification test for like purchasing refrigerant recently?
I guess maybe not recently.
Fuck, man, I took that shit when I was at UTI. To what, 20
It was open book.
years ago? Yeah.
Years. Well, if it's that long ago, it's probably expired, so you might want to check it. Because they changed it.
I was told it didn't expire.
Well, until the 1234.
Yeah, I took it when YF was out, and we needed to buy that.
Yeah. So there's a new one, because I had to redo mine when I was teaching, and because I did mine way back when I was in tech school.
So it would have been right around there. I did mine.
But the information on that test is the most useless information for a technician that could ever be, like, more J standards than you ever wanted to know about, or anyone ever wanted to know about. But like
if
the
you
hose
put
fittings,
1 cup of 134A into a glass, how long do you have before you can drink it?
yeah, yeah, hydrofluorocarbons. Yeah, I remember taking them. Like, what? How is this helping me?
You know what pisses me off about the 609 cert? Respectfully, it's fucking useless.
It is.
Yeah.
Because like I found out that my AutoZone was using my 609 certification to sell to everybody else. And then when I stopped that shit, when I stopped that shit, like it's useless, because like fine, you can they said it was for YF, right? So because right now I'm checking their website and they say that they don't expire.
Okay.
So I don't know. So I have to double check. Actually, I don't even. I did this before the website was up, so I mean, I don't even know. I gotta find it. I just know my number because I think it's your social security number. So
That's a good question.
I think it was. I don't know if they do that anymore.
yeah, but it was when I took it.
They cracked that shit down.
Yeah. So, I go, and they were, the whole YF thing or whatever, and now they're selling fucking cans of YF.
Yep.
So,
yeah, because now it's only based on quantity. So
yeah. So it's
Joe
like,
Blow can go buy
what the hell did we buy?
1 pound or whatever.
I bought a machine last year because we were supposed to do a repair for a YF car, and the car never showed up, and I never used it. It's just sitting there collecting dust.
Or the sons of bitches sell the damn adapters where you can do the 134A into the YF.
Jeez.
So yeah, all the stuff about contamination, just buy the freaking identifier. It hurts. They're expensive. Do it anyways.
I thought the machines had identifiers in them.
They do, but the problem is it won't. Well, unless something's changed. But our machines, if it senses anything other than YF, it locks it up and then requires me to recover it. Like it's a process
Gotcha.
of recovering the contaminated refrigerant out of that machine to allow it to start working again.
Yeah.
So I just bought a separate identifier to save me that headache.
How much are they?
I want to say ridiculous. Over $2,000.
What?
Yeah, I think so.
What kind of machine do you have?
Machines are Robinaires.
Okay.
I don't. Yeah, at the time, I don't remember Mala having any, or however Mala, or however the hell they pronounce that. Tanner's the only one I know that knows how to pronounce it.
And I mean, yeah, it's a process with the YF, but it was a nice machine. It did good. We had 134A machines at the college. They were yellow jackets. You ever used one of those?
I fixed one once. I've never
Okay.
used.
Yeah, I would not recommend those
No,
to
it was-
anybody. They had a few. They had like, I think they were older Robinairs, which it was the old school with the valves.
Yeah.
That was my jam. That I love those things for the 134. I could crank some AC workout. But the Yellow Jacket machines, those things are terrible, just terrible. So I would not recommend those.
I'm thinking if I had to do it all over again, I wouldn't buy a machine.
Just a scale and a keg and
Yeah, a recovery unit and a bunch of empty kegs and a good set of field piece manifold gauge sets, and then like residential level or residential vacuum pumps,
okay.
because the CFMs are so much higher and they pull so much deeper vacuum.
Okay.
The issue would be the recycling portion, or the
Recovery.
reclaiming portion is.
Yeah.
I think you could just build one with like a recovery unit maybe and a bunch of filters, but I don't know. I'd have to
Sure.
research that a little bit. Because residential, if I pull refrigerant out of, your house,
Yeah.
I can't go to Tommy's house, and even if it's the same type, I can't put it in his house.
Oh, really?
And I'm not talking like state to state. Like,
Just add all.
they're not
you
allowed
can.
to do that. So for
Yeah,
them, it's
interesting.
regular to just take the recovered refrigerant and send it out to get reclaimed or recycled.
Huh. Interesting.
For us, we don't really ever do that. And I've priced it out. It's ridiculous. You just buy the machine and do it all in one. But usually the machines are
They wear out.
What's that?
They wear out.
Well, they wear out, and then the components in them are kind of more on the economical end. The vacuum pumps aren't that good.
Yeah, right.
The recovery units aren't that good. So you're paying $6,000 for this machine, or if it's a freaking Snap-on, like what, 20? Maybe it's 10.
Yeah.
No, it seems like it was 20 for that stupid thing, the dual one.
The dual one was 20 something because
Yeah.
I bought the Snap-on one because it came with a 2-year warranty. Robin had one.
Yeah.
And I financed it, man. I was broke. I just needed a machine. And I paid it off quickly, but still. I didn't use it. It's sitting there collecting dust. Fucking hate it.
We considered getting into the YF thing, but we just haven't had enough requests for it to really invest in it. But who knows? Maybe global warming will increase the amount of requests to us, and we'll get one. But
Hopefully. We can only hope. It's funny because I had so many requests for YF the summer before. I'm like, dude, I'm not buying a fucking machine. That's not happening. And then when I buy it, nothing. It reminds me when I first bought the VI2, $2,600. At the time it was the most expensive VI I ever purchased. Everything else I was able to finagle used. So this thing I ordered from AES, got it, and then I swear on my life I was getting a call a week for like a rear wheel drive Nissan transmission. I buy it and then nothing. I didn't use it until a year later.
I bought a Mazda VCM2. I've had it for like, I don't know, 3 years. Never used it.
mine's still in the box.
Yeah, bought it because I needed it. I ended up borrowing like a Cardac M because my 3 Plus wouldn't work, but an M would. Annoying.
Really?
Yeah, it's annoying. And so then it's like, well, F this is going to happen. I'll just, the interface ain't that much. Bought it. Just fended off the Mazda, so I guess it's worth it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, mine's in the box, keeping all the Mazdas away at the moment. I think I know I have other tools like that.
I wish the Jaguar stuff would have worked.
I
Land
got
Rover.
a Volvo Dice, and I've never used that.
That was a really good buy. I'm glad I bought it. It
What,
eliminated
Dice?
a lot of frustrations.
I was gonna buy it, but then I'm in an area where it's literally useless to buy anything Volvo because the dealer is so cheap with it. I think they're charging like less than $200 right now for programming.
Oh wow.
anything Volvo. Like, nah, it's still cheaper for you to tow it to Volvo by me than to pay me to go out there.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So I just never cared. Now,
Yeah.
if it's a used module, yeah, you're mine.
Yeah, but between dice and you want to call it Cat 5 cable, like,
Right. Yeah, for
You're
the
s-
newer stuff, that's easy.
yeah, it's essentially problem free. And then I find that Vita is finally somewhat usable.
Yeah, last
Yeah.
couple times I used it, it's been good. Expensive, but it's good.
What about you, Sean?
Um,
5 years. What did you learn?
yeah.
Where are you going?
Well, I've learned a lot. Like Matt said, a lot of it is like technical. Like, I learn stuff every day out in the field, but like bigger scale stuff. I think it's just been a perspective shift for me in that time. Like I think of where I was at, beginning of 2020 and then 2025. And I was still teaching at that point, so I hadn't really decided that I wanted to go full time in the business, and I did that a couple of years later. But even just doing like the mobile thing, like a vision of where that was going or what I was going to do with it, I didn't really have anything. And I just knew that like I like doing this, and I want to keep doing it. Right, I want to get out there and get my hands dirty all the time, and I still do. But the one thing that is really coming into focus for me, at least in the last year or so, is now that I do have a business, like that's the direction I picked to go, that I need to find a way to like get out of the day to day a little bit, at least some of the time, because somebody's got to steer the ship. That's the tough part for me, because I really do enjoy doing the diag and the programming, all the car stuff. I love it. It's definitely my passion. But at the same time, well, now I have employees, now I have people, that are counting on me, and I gotta make sure that things are going in the right direction so that we can be successful, so they can be successful. And I can't do that if I'm like under the hood all the time, because you can't do the business well and be superstar tech all the time. Like that doesn't work. But that's where my struggle is like trying to figure out that balance or that shift that's happening. But I never really thought about it that way before. I was just like, well, I'm just going to keep doing like all the work. I'm just going to keep doing all the technical stuff, and the business will just kind of work. It'll just sort of figure itself out. And no, it doesn't happen that way.
No.
Like there's so much behind it that there's got to be somebody making those, putting thought into it and putting effort into it, as a leader. So maybe that's just more like a recent thing for me, but it's the biggest difference that I can, specify between me 5 years ago and now, is that mindset. So I'm working on it. I'm trying to learn that side of it, trying to see what I can do to pull some of my time away, but it is tough.
Yeah, I agree, man. It's business is extremely difficult, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Making it like processes and training for your employees is so much harder than you think. Like you talk to some people and it's just like, you guys, your employees are not getting this done. They're just not trained well enough. And maybe that's true, maybe, but how easy is it to like really train somebody in a really technical field? That's really fucking hard. It's not a simple thing. Not saying it can't be done, but it's not just like I'm just gonna pay money and it'll happen. Like that's not even it. It's not even just a lack of wanting to spend money, because I've spent a lot of money. You have to be so intentional behind it and so thoughtful, and maybe even just generate your own stuff in order to get your employees where you need them to be.
Recently, I was told a nice quote: "Your employees either don't have the skill or don't have the will. If they don't have the skill, that's on you. If they don't have the will, that's on them.
Yeah.
But your process and procedures will define that."
Who do you know in the top, pick whatever percent range you want. 1%, 10%, I don't care. 50%. Who do you know in that group? And I think we could sit here and just start rattling off names of who we think are just the elite. Who amongst those could you name that got to where they are 8 to 5?
Nobody.
I couldn't
Never.
name one to save my life, I don't think.
There's no free time in business, man, because there's always something to learn. There's always a better way of doing something. Now, I will say this: the entire point of being an entrepreneur, and this is something that it's come into fruition for me recently, is businesses are meant to run on their own. The problem is the majority of us went into business for ourselves because we didn't want to work for anybody anymore. For whatever reason, right? For one of the many reasons, right? But if you really think about it, man, the majority of the trades, there's more of a minority that go into the into their own. I'm trying to get my thoughts out. The majority of the other trades, especially union-based trades, carpentry, whatever, like the construction workers, the vast majority stay in the union until they retire. The minority are the ones that go off on their own. Because why? It's called the golden handcuffs, right? Yep. You get paid to stay, right? It makes it easy for you to stay, right? And in our trade, it seems to be backwards. Yep. The majority of us just work on our own because of one or two reasons. The majority of us, like we all moonlighted, right?
Mm-hmm.
So us and us three, like, right, and we all had horrible experiences working for somebody else. I don't know, but I know you still work for somebody, Matt, but it's kind of like
up to that point, and arguably maybe even a while into it, consistently trained, consistently educated that if I really wanted a nice house, some nice vehicles, be able to go on some nice vacations and all that, I needed to own my own shop because I wasn't going to get it working for anybody.
Correct.
And that's not the case for a lot of other businesses or careers.
That's my point. Yeah. Why is it that we're the only ones that have to pay for our own training? It's just it's ridiculous, man. But the problem is a catch-22 because our mindset as technicians is retarded too. Like I hear some of these guys who are in some sweet shops, man, and they just can't get it together. Yep. So it's kind of like, and then like I have other shops who again I've preached this a lot, and I get a lot of flack for saying it, but some shops overtrain their technicians and they get mad because they don't want to. I'm like, dude, some guys don't want to better themselves. It doesn't mean you can't put them to do some breaks, man. Yep. It's that part I don't understand. Like if you don't want to better yourself and get yourself into a better position, then don't, man. Stay a parts changer, man. We need those too. I mean, there's my dad used to say something years ago, man. He's like, there's a need for somebody to clean the toilets, man. Not saying that that's bad work, but that's just, it is what it is, right? So for me, I've wanted to, I've never understood entrepreneurship or business. I just knew that I would be a very good bad employee because I'll outwork anybody, and I don't care because I work. But as soon as something that I don't like comes to fruition, then you will hear my mouth because I don't care. Like it's not that I don't care. I care too much.
Right.
This is my like my dad instilled in me that no matter where you work like you're the owner. Because when things go south, when something happens, you're the last one that goes. Business gets slow, they'll never let you go. You're always going to have, as long as you work hard and you have that work ethic and you do everything to your best of your ability every time, then you're always going to be okay. My problem was people take advantage of that. And that's when I put my foot down. And I'll tell you guys a story about the first argument I had with my service manager at the dealer I worked at in Florida. The first week they fired everybody but me because this dealer wanted to start their own lube service, and so they took 3 bays from other technicians and they decided to do a loop station. So they hired 4 guys, and we were gonna rotate so we'd have one per bay. So two of these, they hired 2 pups from UTI, and me, I had just came from UTI, but I've been working on cars since I was 12, so I had more experience than them. So I got to work, man. There was nothing there wasn't even any training, dude. Like they just literally said, "Oh, here's a car, change the oil." Right. So to that point, now that I look back at it, it was kind of a mistake, right? Because these I was actually kind of teaching the kids of tires, torquing, et cetera, right? Well, these kids, 2 of them forgot to they forgot to torque the tires down after they dropped the car. One thought the other one, they were working in tandem I forgot why. So they forgot to one thought the other one did. It was that communication. The car went, tires flew off the road, blah blah blah. They immediately got fired. Um, there was an older gentleman that got hired. He was a businessman in New York, and he decided to sell his business for a lot of money. He came down to Florida to retire, and then was like, "I'm bored." So he picked this little lube job because he liked tinkering with cars, and he figured how hard it is to change oil. when the kids got fired, dude, we were averaging 40 cars a day, and so he's like, "Dude, I can't do this. I'm sorry." I was like, "All right, cool. I don't care. I used to knock out 40 cars by myself a day." So until they hired people, I was me. Me and the porter. I taught the porter how to stack the car, how to line the car up for me on the lift. So we had a system. He would bring my cars in. I would lift them up, boom, 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 and then I had my whole system, dude. I can do 3 cars at the same time. I just needed somebody to pull them in, pull them out. And the first argument I had was that one of the technicians. So this one of the systems is I had, because I didn't know the filters at the time, is I would put the filter with the RO and order of the car. And while I was banging them out, I noticed that my filters were kind of looking not where I put them, but I was like, maybe whatever. Like I'm trying to hustle. I'm trying to get these cars out. I put them on. I start the cars, and I always looked. I always look for leaks. Always. I looked, and they're all puking oil. All 3 of them. I'm like, what the fuck? Turn them off. Lift them up. One of these raggedy technicians pulled the seals off of all my filters. So
Jesus.
I don't know who it was. So I told the man, like, "Yo, look at this shit." And he's like, "Oh, you probably just dropped them." How did I drop them?
Okay.
Dude, somebody pulled these off. And what it was is that one of the senior technicians was he drove into my bay. And I'm like, "Yo, man, get this thing out of my bay." He's like, it's just you. You're not using it." I'm like, "Yeah, I am, dude. I got 40 cars to pull out, dude. Like, no, like get the hell out of my bay, bro." Like I said, I take my job seriously. You're paying me to work, I'm gonna work. He's like, "Why are you working so hard?" I'm like, "None of your business, dude. Like, get your shit out of my bay." Because I was also younger, so people tend to want to nah, you ain't intimidating me, man. I ain't scared of you. Get your shit out of my bay, or I'm gonna go tell the service manager, dude. I got shit to do. I'm not getting in trouble because you want to use my bay for whatever reason. Go use your shit. So he gets mad, and I think he's the one that did it. So I told the service manager, I'm like, "Dude, I'm not gonna be liable for the next time he does something and then I get blamed for it. Nah, hell no." So they were friends with the service manager, and that's where the little tiff started. Well, they had me working the entire 2 weeks every day, and they were open from Monday through Sunday. I worked 7 days a week since I was 12 years old, so it meant nothing to me. So I would come in and bang them out. My checks were really, really nice because of the overtime. Well, they were too nice, but the manager waited until they hired 2 more guys. When he had the 2 guys, he was like, "Hey," it was Tuesday, it was Wednesday. He's like, "You're already at 40 hours." I'm like, "But you told me to work all I wanted, so I'm working." And he's like, "No, no, no. As of tomorrow, you're off for the week." Adios. Like, I don't. Okay, cool. Like, I'll find something to do, but better for me. Like, I don't care. So, I remember the dealer opened at 7:30. 7:45, I decided I'm sleeping in, and this guy is bringing me up. I'm like, "What's going on?" And he's like, "Well, I didn't answer." So about an hour later, I decided to call him back, and he's like, "Hey, where's the impact?" And I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like, yeah, the impact for the tires. Yeah, I know, but what are you talking about? Like, what do you want it for? He's like, to take tires off. I'm like, well, no shit, man. I know what you want it for. I'm saying, why do you need my impact? He's like, well, no. He's like, where is it? I'm like, in my toolbox. He's like, yeah, the guy said it's locked. I'm like, yeah. He's like, why'd you lock it? I was like, is there something I don't know here? Is it you pranking me or something? I told him, like, why wouldn't I lock my tools in my toolbox? Well, what are we gonna use? I'm like, dude, you're paying me $8 an hour. When I'm there, people can use my stuff. But if I'm not there, dude, you're not using my $400 impact. He's like, well, what are we supposed to do? I said, well, buy one. Like, what do you want me to tell you? Or have one of the technicians borrow you one, dude. Why am I like? We had this full blown argument. He couldn't understand why I wouldn't come down to open my toolbox so they can borrow my tools.
Ridiculous.
Mind you, I was getting paid $8.50 an hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yikes.
That's my entire year that I was at this dealer. It was nothing but back and forth with this guy. And I think it was because, again, like, I'm a very hard worker, but you're not, you're not taking advantage of me, man. I'm sorry. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that get it goes with the flat rate thing, and I had that Firestone too. People get worked up, because their numbers aren't where they want them to be, and there's just certain people who, well, the number of people who, instead of looking inward of like, okay, what could I be doing differently? Is it a me thing? It's just automatically someone else's fault if you're not getting the hours you want or the money that you want. It's got to be somebody else taking from you or doing this. And I never go along too well with those guys, but like you said, I just outwork them, and it sorted itself out for me most of the time. I got into a shouting match with one guy like my entire career, because I'm a fairly easy person to get along with, like 99% of the time. I'm pretty chill. But I did get into a shouting match with one guy once, because it was that situation too. He was always just crabby and just a douchebag because he wasn't getting the hours that I was, because they were kind of, I don't know that I think it's a good practice, but they would post the numbers of all the texts on the wall, like every week you'd see the numbers there, and he would just get butthurt about it every week, because I think before I came to that store, he was the number one guy or whatever for however long, and so he was just a dick to me for no other reason but that, and it irritated me for long enough, and then we got into a shouting match, and then he ended up getting transferred out of the store. So
Yeah, it's like, there's proponents and there's positives and negatives to everything, right? Like, there's so many people who love flat rate and so many people who hate it. Some people love paying it, some people don't.
yeah.
Saying some people like earning it, some people don't, right? I feel like it's a cultural thing within the establishment that's key, right? And finding the correct people, right? And making sure, because I'll tell you this, there's a lot of guys who I know that they're absolutely fucking making a shit ton of money working flat rate right now.
Yep, I did.
You see what I'm saying? And I'm just like, I'm when I did flat rate at the dealer, I had great numbers, because even though, like, I just needed more experience per se, but they put me on as a flat rate technician like a month or two after they hired me as a lube guy, and I was making hours, man, because I took on whatever. I didn't care, oil changes, PDIs, whatever. Like, I didn't care, because I figured, dude, I'm not doing anything. Every little bit adds up. And I'm not typically one to be argumentative or whatever. I let a lot of stuff go, but that's, in essence, was one of the issues that I had, because I worked with a lot of older guys, man. So a lot of them looked at me like a kid, and I'm like, dude, I'm a grown ass man. I was 22 years. I was a punk ass kid, but I was 22 years old, and I'm like, nah, man, like, you're not rolling on me, man. Like, no, like, I don't back down from anybody. So a lot of the experiences I had were from a little bit of hatred of that. because since I was low on the totem pole in terms of pay, they would kind of sometimes feed me a lot of the easier work.
Oh,
And then
okay.
I would make them look stupid when I would diagnose stuff they couldn't. So yeah, I got a lot of flack for that. But again, that's more of I suspect that's like a cultural thing within the businesses, man. And some people don't really give a shit about the culture. They're just like, hey, you know, you guys are just numbers.
Yep. Yeah, those top producers, it's tough to, like you say, there's some people that are gonna swear by it if they're making a lot of money or they're doing well with it. And I get it on that side. Like if you're working 45 hours a week and you're getting paid 90, like no one was ever gonna tell me that another payment plan was different at that period. Now, would I be able to still do that now? I don't know. Probably not. That was a 20-year-old's game to slam ball joints for all day long and feel fine about it.
Yeah.
But at the time, I'm like, this is great. You know, my checks were awesome. I would have never gone to like an hourly rate. I mean, I guess if they could guarantee me the same pay, but at the time, there was no place that would.
And I know so many scenarios with different people who are like, um, they're hourly because they like the comfort, right? But they're still hard workers. And then
Sure.
there's
Oh
people
yeah.
who are extremely hard workers and like, nah, man, I want to
Yep.
be able to make the money that I want to make. That's me. Like I don't bode well in unions because I don't
Yeah.
want people negotiating for me. No, I'm not kicking unions or nothing. I'll say that right now. I just like to be able to come into your office and be like, listen, man, the last 3 weeks I've been booking you 60 something hours, man. It's time that I earn my raise.
Yep.
That's
Well,
how.
we're all hustlers, like all three of us. I know you guys well, and we all hustle. And if that's you, like you want to be rewarded for that, in you know however they want to do that as far as pay goes. But that's when you say union, that was the reason I never joined one because of that reason. Because I was like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna hustle, and you don't necessarily get rewarded for that in a union,
No,
as far
you
as
don't.
my understanding is.
Yeah.
Um, but um, shoot, I had
Yeah,
another
my
train of thought. I
philosophy
lost
is
it.
more money-ballish, if you will. If you ever saw the movie, granted they take a little bit of creative license with it, but a lot of the players they're signing, the only stat they cared about was on base percentage. And so for the shop, the way I look at that is it's profit. What do you bring to the table to help the shop profit? Now, a couple of the guys, it's cranking out work.
Mm-hmm.
Bring it in, like you said, what are ball joints, steering suspension, transmissions, timing chains, whatever. That is the biggest thing they bring. Others, it's maybe more really good inspections, and then advisors and all that. It's selling, if you will. I air quote selling, whatever that means. Not maybe slick car salesman type stuff, but communication, education, and building trust, and maybe building up a plan. Like, I can't afford to drop $4,000 on this thing today. What needs to be done, and then what can we wait, and then when can we get you back in, and stuff like that. So all I care about is the shop's profiting, and how do we make it profit more? And that's usually more cars, higher tickets. How do we do that?
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, we try to reward everyone for any contribution they can make to the profitability of the shop. And that might be making sure you bill out for every bit of brake cleaner you're using. Maybe it's when you're out at lunch handing out business cards, and just anything and everything that helps do that. You get a little bit of piece of that. And then, I know there's some months where somebody just had a killer month and they just build out 200 hours. And they feel like maybe, their bonus check wasn't as high as it could have been because they contributed so much to it. But then the next month they don't. They hit maybe 140, and through no fault of their own, or maybe some of it is their fault, or a lot of it's their fault. But their bonus checks may be a bit bigger because someone else picked up the slack, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
It just works itself out.
Yeah.
But it ends up being somewhat high concept, and therefore, if they're not willing to invest a little bit of effort to understand what it's doing and why, they can create resentments, even though it's not flat rate by any means.
I had that conversation with you, like you explained that very same thing to me a couple years back when I was working out the payment plans for my team, and that's what we ended up doing. It was based off of your advice there of doing a bonus based off of the profit of the business. Yeah. Like the business does well, you do well.
Exactly.
And, okay, what form does that take? Yeah, we can dial in the little stuff here, but yeah, then it almost leaves it open-ended too. And like you say, kind of gets some skin in the game as far as expenses goes too. Like, okay, you know, where does it make sense to save money, or at the very least, like I shouldn't break this VCM too, because that means we have to buy another one, and then that goes against the profit. And so, at least for a smaller group, it's worked pretty well for us. But like you say, as you know, if it gets bigger and bigger, there's going to be different variables there and different levels of contribution, and yeah, socialism, right?
To a degree.
Yeah, it works good at a small scale, I think.
Yeah, most of these successful techs that I know, they are happy with a hybrid scale, right? Where it's just like, well, you have your hourly rate, your guaranteed hours that you're gonna get paid
guaranteed. For.
Yeah. There's also like the performance bonuses, right? Like if you flag X amount of hours aside from your guarantee, then your hourly rate goes up, and then you get a team bonus, and then a bonus at the end of the month if the shop does X amount of money. I know a guy on that plan, and he absolutely is killing it.
Mm-hmm.
I think at the end of the day, it usually just ends up what your W-2 says and what's your cost of living.
Yeah.
It kind of annoys me when people start talking about just dollars, because my dollars don't go nearly as far. I don't think. I could be full of shit, but I don't think they go nearly as far. Or I'm sorry, I was about to say that backwards. My dollars probably go way further than Tommy's do, because of cost of living. Your cost of living, I think, is higher in the Chicagoland area than mine. And otherwise, we'll just push it to an extreme. Our dollars go way further than somebody that lives near Washington, D.C. or over in California by L.A.
Yeah.
So dollars mean jack squat. It's almost like we need to start talking in terms of percent of cost of living.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Almost like a ratio.
Mm-hmm.
And now that's how we're thinking about is there's a cost of living within a certain radius of the repair shop. What is a reasonable area to live in? So, you know, if your drive to work is a half an hour, is that considered reasonable to and from? And what's the cost of living within that radius? And what is your wages or compensation towards that cost of living? And of course, you'd expect as an experienced, capable tech, it would more than exceed the cost of living, especially for a single person. And then maybe a single person with a kid. And then does their spouse work too or not work? And that should be a factor. That should be the way we think about it. But it's always dollars. Like, oh, you got to be 100-a-year tech. Well, if you're 100-a-year tech in California, you're starving. Or maybe around the LA area, you're starving.
San Fran.
Yeah, San Fran. Oh yeah.
Yeah, man. Like not to go into politics, man, but I was talking to my wife about that the other day. That six figures now is literally worth it. Like worthless here. I'll give you an example, right? Like let's just figure you get paid $100,000, right? I did the math, but I forgot. About 35% of that, it goes into almost 40 if you really do the math, if you have healthcare and blah blah blah. So 60K of that is yours, right? Let's just say 60 for easy math. There is a right next to my house. They finished. I don't know if you guys came when they were constructing these. Oh, this thing died. Hold on.
I hear you.
I can still hear you. Your camera froze.
Yeah, no, it's just the batteries don't last too long. It must not have been charged. Sorry, guys. And they built all these townhomes and these apartment apartment units, and they have 1, 2, and 3 bedroom apartments. Dude, these things, the 1 bedroom apartment is $2,000, right? 20, yeah, like 2,100, and yada yada.
So if you have $5,000 a month, almost 50%, 40% of your income is going for housing.
Imagine that.
Yeah.
Like again, that's almost half of your income of your after tax income going to just a 2-bedroom apartment, because that's going to cost you 24. Well, even if with expenses, it's about, let's say if it's $2,000, about another $500 in utilities, right, on average. So that's 12 times 25. That's 30K.
And you're probably working for somebody that's owned their shop for 30, 40, 50 years. They're in their 50s or 60s. They bought their house 25 years ago with ultra low interest rates, and their really nice, whatever you want to call it, home cost them $250,000.
Mm-hmm.
And they're looking at you like, man, if I was making $100,000, and because I own this place and all that, I pay myself better, of course, but $100,000, I'd have money to burn.
Yep.
Like, do you ever even look at like realtor.com? Do you have kids that went and told you that they went and bought their first house and it was $485,000 and it's worse than your house? Like, when does the math click in your head?
Yeah, that's a conversation that definitely needs to be had, man, because my parents, they bought a home back in the day. Their first home was $45,000.
Yeah.
And they were able to purchase that, and they both didn't really make more than minimum wage. That was what, $5 an hour back then.
Yep.
Imagine that you're able to buy a home making $10 collectively an hour.
Yep.
That's not it. You pretty much have to both make 6 figures now to buy a home in a nice area. You can still find cheap houses in Chicago, but you got to go to the like the not so good neighborhoods or the not so good suburbs to get that. And here's the kicker about Chicago, man. The property taxes here, dude, they're gonna go up again, man. And my shop is about to hit $12K a year.
Yeah.
For a small shop, like a 1 city lot. It's like just ridiculous.
Necessities, the ratio, I guess to our incomes, if you will, the cost ratio of necessities has gone up tremendously.
Yeah.
Housing, food,
insurance, and
But the luxury type stuff has dropped. Way back in the day. I mean, I think televisions were partly furniture, and it was an expense.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we could buy big screen TVs, maybe not high quality, but for the sake of discussion, I mean, 60-inch, 55-inch TVs at Walmart, what are they, like $500, $400?
Yeah, I'd say if that, you get super cheap.
So the luxury items, they're kind of going down in that cost burden. Where I think you reverse back a while, maybe when we were kids, but probably a little bit before us, or a while before us, that was different. The necessities weren't such a burden. The luxury items, they were brutal. You couldn't really buy those. You couldn't afford them, but you could afford your house and food and clothing, and that's why there was freaking shoe salesmen who owned a home. Their wife didn't work. The kids
Scored 4
2
touchdowns.
kids, they had 1 car, and they put them through college.
Score 4 touchdowns.
They don't. You couldn't be a shoe salesman nowadays. You can hardly be an auto mechanic sometimes. I mean, I think, don't get me wrong, I think our stuff is getting better. A few have told me that's not the case, and I don't want to disagree with them. It's just a lot of us have things have gotten better for the skilled professions. But yeah, for the longest time, man, being an auto tech was not. It was a very regrettable move. Like, what was I thinking? If I liked cars that much, I could have been a freaking electrician and then put a hoist in my nice garage and fixed cars for fun.
Yep.
You know,
I know some people who did that.
Yeah.
it's funny because, like, my dream right now is to make sure my business runs without me so I can want to be there, not have to be there. Because I, like you, man, will die doing this. Like, as much as I hate this industry, I'm very vocal because I love it. If I didn't care, then I would just probably literally just do anything else, man.
Yep.
Like, I can literally do a lot more. But I do enjoy the industry. I like what I do. I don't view my work as work. I view the business and entrepreneurial stuff as work. A lot of work, actually. But the fact that I can, work on cars and I can do all aspects of a vehicle, right? And successfully, it still gets my juices flowing, man. I love it.
I'm still trying to figure out what I do good on cars. Brick modules. I can do that.
Click it till you brick it, baby.
Everybody's got to be good at something.
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
Matt just likes to play modest, but he's full of shit.
Yes, he is.
But who's the brown guy?
Me.
The honest
I'm the one that's not supposed to be doing this shit. Look it. Always, since I was a kid, I've always had a problem with authority, man. Always. I never cared. I was probably from getting my ass whooped so much.
All right. Do you guys want to? I got an email from a listener earlier this afternoon, and
you have a listener? Lucky bastard.
This is the only one.
That's like more than I got.
But I thought this was really interesting, and get your guys' perspective on this because he's asking for a little bit of advice. And at first, I thought it was like the vehicle specific, which it kind of is, but stay with me until the end because I thought this was pretty interesting. So a gentleman, and I won't put his name out there, and I'll actually ask his permission before I put it live on the podcast. But anyways, he says, I've been a silent listener to the automotive podcast for a while. I don't have a whole lot of electrical experience due to lack of access of equipment, but have enjoyed your podcast to learn about modern technologies. I'm emailing you about some guidance on a 2000 Chevy 2500 HD with some 4x4 shift issues. And he goes on to tell me some details about it. I won't read it word for word. But basically, it's not shifting into 4-low. And this is the version that has the buttons on the dash, and there's a motor down on the transfer case and a module under the dash, right? So fairly common vehicle. I'm sure we've probably seen these before. So he tried a couple modules and still not having any luck with it. So this is where I think gets interesting. The second half of the email says, to provide some background on me to explain why I'm emailing you. I grew up in a family-owned tractor trailer repair shop. When your father is the owner of a small business, you can be with him at 6 years old. At this point in my life, I've been turning wrenches for 55 years part-time, but I'm somewhat of a novice with electronics. Oh, and there's an important detail that I should share with you. I'm totally blind. The internet can be a useful resource, but one does need to personally evaluate the information to sort out valid information. Online wiring schematics are not a resource that I can use for obvious reasons. I have special software called a screen reader that converts text on the screen to synthetic speech. I use a touch typing on a standard keyboard. Technology advances have changed some things for me. I have a talking multimeter, which I'm learning how to use. And he said, I understand you're busy dealing with your day-to-day, but would appreciate if you had any time to reply with some guidance. So I just thought,
I want to get a talking meter.
Yeah, well, I want to give the guy a shout out for even attempting that stuff. I couldn't even imagine. That's absolutely crazy. That
The Autel S2 talks. I guess that counts.
Does it?
Yeah, the Ultra S2 with Max.
What is it like? When you say it talks, what do you mean?
You can talk to it. You can kind of interact with it.
Oh, really?
Voice to.
It has an AI.
Oh, no shit. Okay. Wow.
I guess for him, my knee jerk is when he says module, I'm assuming he means the actual control module under the dash.
Yes. Yeah, that's one he was referring to.
What year was this thing?
2000. So
2500 HD.
One idea, and I'm not exactly sure which transfer case this is, because some of them, does this have an auto selection as well, or is it just 2 high, 4 low? Can he take the encoder motor off and manually shift it into 4 low or not? If it's got auto, then I think there's a added layer of complexity, because I think they have like a planetary gear set type thing in there, or clutch system in there that may provide a hurdle. But honestly, I think you can still get that encoder motor off and manually shift that into 4 low. So now if you can manually put it in, now at least gear wise, mechanically, if you will, everything works. If you can't, you're kind of done. It's internal to the transfer case.
I've done that with you put it into neutral and then you grab it with a vice grips or whatever when it's off. Yep. And you should be able to move it in and out of those gears for sure.
I'm sure that's not as techy as a lot of people want to get, but I mean, sometimes you got to get just down and dirty and save the techie stuff for later.
Yeah. I'm actually trying to think. I've seen some fuses that are blown that are caused by that shift motor down there, but usually I think when that happens on those trucks, you can't talk to the 4x4 module with the scan tool.
Yeah. Otherwise, you're watching the encoder motor on the scan tool to see if it matches the chart in service information. I'm almost positive that's a fairly decent chart.
It's either the module can't or it doesn't want to. That's the key here.
He did mention some clicking going on with it when he's trying to do the shifts. So I think a scan tool and a scan obviously would be pretty helpful in getting some guidance there too. So
and it's got to be in neutral.
Yep. Yeah,
because I don't think you even work in park. I think it's got to be neutral.
Yep.
So it has to see that, and then
what
like
if the
you guys
neutral
said,
switch is on the fritz and it doesn't know it's a neutral?
Right. And 2000. Wow. No, we should be pulling service info before we just keep going on here. 2000, is that old enough to have the vacuum switch on top?
No.
No.
Because this one's got
has the buttons, the buttons to the left, right?
Yep, buttons to the left, and it's going to be a motor even on a 2000. Okay. I think you had to go 98 or 9. Well, the old body style 99 for the vacuum stuff.
All right, let's see here. I'll pull up all data. 2000.
I haven't seen one of those in it's a really long time.
I'm thinking I'm just spitting out all this shit, and then the next thing you know, they're gonna be like, "Oh, dude, that was one of those with the switch on top that always goes bad." Like,
yeah.
What is this? You said Chevy
Silverado 2500,
which usually I think affected the front axle more than the actual transfer case, anyways. But
I don't think they were called Silverados this year. They're just K trucks.
Okay,
that could be.
Yeah. Do you know what engine?
He did not mention.
No, for shits and giggles, we'll do a 5. Yeah, because actually, hold on, 2000 is a split year because the 5.7 and the 5.3. The 5.7 had that old 4-wheel drive system.
If it's a 2500 HD, is that the newer body style though?
I don't know. It's a split year. Hold on, let
Okay.
me see here because
Because I think they
there's.
only had the HD in the newer style. I could be wrong on that though.
But here's the thing: all data doesn't list in HD. Just a
Oh,
K2500
okay.
for
Yeah,
Yeah, I
this
2000.
don't.
truck has
My
the
knee
push
jerk is
button selector for shifting in and out of four-wheel drive. Selecting 2 and 4 high works. When I push the pedal, move it into neutral, and press the 4 low button, the shift module located behind the left edge of the dash clicks a few times, and the four-wheel light low. The four-wheel low light does not stay on.
yeah. So it's what you and Tommy are already saying, and then I think you pop the motor off and see if you can manually shift that transfer case into 4 low.
Yeah, it's if it's making noise, and that means the TCC or TCCM, or whatever the hell they called it that year, is
Yep.
trying to engage. It just can't.
Yeah, and I think if you have some way of getting scanner on there just to read codes. Now, on those ones, if I remember right, you have to access the 4x4 codes by entering the engine control module. It's ATC.
I think you're
I
right.
believe.
Well, that or the
Again,
transmission, but it might be powertrain.
uh,
And I'm not even thinking straight up snap-on. I think you're right, though. It's through
yeah,
powertrain, transmission, then transfer case.
Yeah, because I remember like being lost
Sorry,
on
man.
one trying to find the module to talk to, or maybe it was one of my employees. I'm like, I know it has four-wheel drive module. He's like, oh, I can't find it, and you had to go into the powertrain, and then you pull the codes there. It's the ATC option, I believe it is.
Yep.
So that would be something if you connect to it that way.
Yeah, that's when you get into like language barrier stuff because it's ATC or I think like Tommy, I would agree with that. I would have called that thing a TCCM.
Mm-hmm.
And that probably show up on like Tech 2 and I don't know if I would dare say on like Autel or whatever. I want to
I've
say
been
it
using
would.
my Tech 2 like crazy lately. Like there'll be periods where it sits and gathers some dust, but I feel like I'm pulling that out at least once a week lately. It's crazy.
Yeah, same. Yeah, same.
What are all these old things still doing around?
Yeah.
I programmed a car with it the other day.
Yeah. Oh, me too.
Like, what the hell?
That Tech 2 remote, man, that just freaking works for that old stuff.
I've done maybe like 10 Tech 2 programmings my entire career. I mean, I started using SPS, man, and that's pretty much what I use unless it's not supported anymore, and then I gotta bust that old thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
On the older ones, like those late 90s, early 2000s, sometimes you'll do it J and it just won't take, and it's like a baud rate type thing, and you use the Tech 2 and it just goes.
I had a Saturn BCM recently that also kicked my ass because they were trying to install a new BCM, which you can buy. It's not like new from the dealer, obviously, but it's a new part, and TIS and the Tech 2 won't do it because I think that part or that processor, they changed the processor, like wasn't around when the last release of TIS came out. And so it won't do it, but it'll do a used one. And I don't know, the customer didn't want a used one, but I was like, well, this is what I can do for you. We tried, and I did everything I could to try to program their new BCM, but GM doesn't support it. GM's like pound sand, we don't care. There are no files. Good luck. But you can do a used one with TIS. So that was a fun adventure too.
Wow.
What year was it again?
2002 Saturn L200. The BCM up above the glove box.
And you had the TIS 2000 disc, or were you going just straight up? Okay.
Yeah, it's a disc that's loaded onto a drive for me, but it worked. Like I went to a boneyard and I pulled the used one out, was able to do the VIN and everything. Mileage is a little trickier, but
Yep.
was able to get everything programmed. I did it on the bench with TIS 2000, and it
Nice.
worked fine. But the new one just wouldn't go. Aired out with both of them aired out with TLC because GM just doesn't. I don't think they have the files available on their end. But it won't work into this new one. And I opened them up to see, like, could I just transfer over the flash manually, like on the board? But they're different processors, so I didn't even bother. I'm like, who knows what's going to happen when I jam that in there.
Well, yeah, it's those old junks come in waves, man.
Yep.
Right. And then you
Yeah.
wonder, it's like, is this car even really worth spending all this time on? But my problem is I get into it and I'm like, well, now I want to figure it out.
That's why I keep them, man. It's probably a little reason to keep a Tech 1, but once in a while.
Tech 1.
Yeah,
I
once
do
in a
not have
while.
one of those.
Seen one.
Yeah. NGS, once in a while. It's the tool.
Is that the Ford one?
Yeah, it looks like a big T.
Yep. Okay. We had one at the college, and I don't think I ever turned it on.
The biggest
but
reason I keep it is once in a while. And it's not very often. Once a year, twice a year, you'll get like a Lincoln Air Ride.
Mm.
And you can do like the star test mode and a lot of scan tools. And it's just basically on off counting flashes. The NGS just talks to it, lets you do bidirectional
Oh, nice.
controls. It's like, yeah.
Okay.
For the cost, you just freaking do it. And then it seems like it would do scan data way better on EEC 4. You know, there's early EEC 4 where the DLC is underneath the hood, and Snap-on, like, scan data is marginal, if not non-existent, and NGS has, RPM, TPS, short-term fuel trim. It's quite nice. DRB3, I still use that quite a bit. Maybe that's me because I never really screwed around with the emulator. But
yeah, that's what I have is the emulator. I actually don't have a legit GRB3 because
if you ever
one
need
of
one,
those ones, I'm kind of just I was waiting to see, like, am I going to need it for something? I haven't found it yet. I'm sure there's one out there waiting though.
Man, it's a lot of old junk.
Mm-hmm.
They should be in the
it's crazy
junkyard.
though. Some of that stuff still kills people. Like they
Yeah.
forgot the common problems,
Yeah, that is true.
and you almost get
what did I-
spoiled with scan data now. We get vehicles in pre-OBD2 for misfires because I think people forgot how to find a misfire without a code or data stream pointing at the cylinder. That's bad.
We had
Well,
one the other day with crossed spark plug wires, and like that used to be an everyday freaking
Yeah.
thing. I'd do it to myself, or you'd see it, and when we got that, I'm like, man, I haven't seen a crossed spark plug wire in a long time because the only ones that have them now are the Chevy trucks, and you really can't cross those. But
Yep.
it was on a old 99 something or another, and I was like, yeah, those problems that existed so commonly, or like a fuel pressure regulator leaking internally. I swear it was like every GM I pulled in the shop for like 5 years, and now like you're never gonna see that.
We get it's happened twice this year. Older Chevys with the flat cap, distributor cap,
Oh,
high
sure,
voltage
sure.
switch.
Yeah, going across.
Yeah. The plug wires plug in on the sides, right?
Yeah.
And it's convenient. Both shops unwittingly, the RTFM, but distributor. What do you do with ignition tune-up? You time it. So out comes the timing light, and they time it, send it off, and it idles beautifully. Oh my God, idles beautifully. Get on it a little bit, and it misses like a, you know what, on all cylinders, just racks them up. We can't figure it out, and we get them. Cam retard. You don't set timing on them, you set cam retard.
That's actually pretty surprising. I don't think the shops around here would even like know how to time something or have a timing light to do it.
Yeah, it's insane. So sometimes when you hear people complaining about the old stuff, it's like, yeah, it's still out there kicking people's tails. So
Yeah. Well, what'd you guys get your moms for Mother's Day?
oh crap, I forgot. Is that coming up?
You gotta worry about his kids' moms.
Yeah,
Yeah,
True.
yeah, multiple.
We just have lunch. That's all.
That's what we're doing.
I got my mom all 3 seasons of Clarkson's Farm on DVD, or I'm sorry, Blu-ray.
What the hell is
Okay.
that?
Oh my god, dude. Are you familiar with Top Gear UK?
Mhm.
Jeremy Clarkson.
But a while ago, I haven't
Yeah.
seen that in years, man.
They do the Grand Tour now.
Oh,
After
that's
Clarkson
right.
decked
Yeah.
the one guy with the BBC, got fired, and then Hammond and May quit along with him, and then they went to Amazon for the Grand Tour. Well,
Gotcha.
he owns a 1,000-acre farm with a house in the UK somewhere, England. And one of the deals, I think when they were with Top Gear, I don't think it was with Amazon, but they had this contest, and if Jeremy Clarkson lost, Hammond and May got to blow up his house. So they blew up his house, this old, very stone house on this farm, right? And I'm sure it was already prearranged. He was going to lose because he's going to build a new house, mansion. So he's owned it for quite a while, and he just paid somebody to run the farm. Well, the guy retires. And Clarkson, instead of hiring somebody else, decides, I'm going to farm it. It is the funniest shit you've ever seen in your life, especially if you know a little bit about farming. You will cry laughing.
What if I don't know anything about farming?
You'll still laugh quite a bit, but not as
I don't know
much.
jack
It's like
shit about
Office
farming.
Space, right? Have you ever watched Office Space with somebody that works in an office like that? They are
Yeah.
inconsolable. They cannot keep their shit together. Watching that Clarkson's Farm, man, dude, like he's going looking for a tractor, and his land manager, who kind of helps him out with like legal stuff and regulations and all that, says, you just need this small tractor. Just go to the local implement dealer. They sell small used things. Don't spend a lot of money. And he's looking at Massey Ferguson's and older ones. And it's just not working for him. So he finds the tractor, comes flying around the corner. It's a Lamborghini.
Nice.
Which is how they got their start, was tractors. But this is a new modern tractor. It's got to be, 400 horsepower, front wheel assist. Like, it is a monster vehicle.
Wow.
And he's driving, and he's got to start plowing, which he isn't really plowing. We would call it cultivating. And he's got this cultivator behind it that would have fit behind the little Massey he should have bought, but he's got it behind this freaking Lamborghini, and it's not wide enough to cover the wheel tracks. So it's the funniest shit I've ever seen in my life. There's 3
check it out.
seasons of it. That
I'll
guy
look.
he's got a direct line to
More
my
so,
funny
I gotta
bone.
see.
Yeah, it's kind of like Tomi, man. Just a direct line to my funny bone.
Yes, sir. Never fails. It never fails, man. Always good at making people uncomfortable. I did really just say that. Yes, I did.
It'd be boring without it, so we appreciate it.
True.
All right, well, thank you, gentlemen, for taking the time, as always. What was
Thanks
that?
Yes,
for
sir.
having me.
Oh,
All right, that's going to do it for episode 300. Thank you, Tommy. Thank you, Matt. And, of course, thank you, all of the listeners. Obviously, could not have gotten to this point without all of you. So, big thank you. Appreciate that. Again, keep up all the feedback and let us know what you want to hear about. But here's to another 300 episodes. But with that all out of the way, let's get out there, start fixing the world one car at a time.